I've been finally given permission to discuss the work that I do on a contractor basis with a government agency regarding the investigation, research, and development of what's called a temporal adjudicator. I'm putting some of the schematics up, and this is an incredibly rare and interesting picture of the portal that is created by the adjudicator. Basically, the adjudicator not only allows someone to move through time in actually a very limited sense. You can't go incredibly far into the future, and you can't go very, very far back either way, but you can go essentially a few years in either direction. They're allowing this to happen, especially on the social media platform, not on anything that is sort of mainstream in terms of media outlets, because, well, they really have a policy, whether it's UAPs and aliens or something like temporal adjudicator, of telling the truth. And what they bank on, what they completely expect, is that it will be dismissed, ridiculed, marginalized, ignored, and they still then have the moral stance that they have told the truth, and you guys just didn't believe it. So that's why I'm not going to spend any time trying to convince anybody of its veracity. I'm just telling you about my experience. So here's me going through it. And what's interesting about it is not only can it go forward and backwards in time a few years, it can actually go anywhere in your current timeline in terms of location. So it basically eliminates the need for trains, planes, and automobiles. You can basically go to, this beach in the Maldives, anywhere you want to go. It's simply an adjustment on the adjudicator technology that allows you to go. I mean, that's actually how the technology first got developed, was trying to just simply create a technology that allowed essentially like a Star Trek beam me up Scotty, transferring someone from one place to another. It was then later found that through basically the synchronization of certain wavelengths on the adjudicator, that you could affect a movement away or beyond one's timeline or backwards. So this actually, though, in terms of this speech here, I think it's just a side interesting issue. I want to point out that this is a time that in the next 2 years, 2026, where the two suns, see how the sun's really weird lately in 2024 now? Well, guess what, people? That's just the beginning of what's going to happen with the sky, the sun, the stars, the space. Let's just put it that way. And two suns by 2026 is completely known, accepted, and not even a weird thing. The truth of it, there is, it's a better shot of it, although it's still overcast in this shot. I need to get a better shot, and I will. But this is an example of it. So just as a people that are going to say, hey, tell me about the lottery tickets or who wins the World Series or stuff like this, I can tell you this, that is something that people, they can't hide that for long, and they don't. This is actually, you should go back, if anyone wants to do a freeze frame on, this is in LA, this is a museum, and I'm going to actually let the thing play in a second at the end. But here's me putting in, for the 5100, and it's an old IBM legacy machine. John Titor has first mentioned this in terms of a time travel technology. And this is actually loosely based on the Titor model, but this is a bit different. But there I am creating a portal by just putting in the right circuit board into the 5100. Doesn't even need to be plugged in because it has what's called a latency charge. But this is, I'll show, I go through this, and this is another example of a little bit of a different portal than the first one that you saw. But nonetheless, this one is completely effective and basically shows the space-time distortion that's created. Now, once you go through the portal, everything sort of regulates, and you're able to see things in the normal sense. But if you look back, this is, the portal will remain for approximately an hour, sometimes even two, depending on the charge, the latency charge of the 5100 that you're using as your primary temporal adjudicator. But if you look around, it starts to collapse, and when you see collapse, you got to go. Here's a little funny little bit, though. You got to hear this.
I was assigned to record anomalies and find other wanderers not resetting correctly. Eventually, it was discovered that I was leaking my videos to the app TikTok. Although there was no way for admins to stop me, this was eventually put to an end with the ban of TikTok in the year 2025.